Criticizing an NFL general manager is never easy in season. In fact, it's probably the most challenging criticism that you can put forth of a GM in any sport. Gonna give it a fair try. Anyway, good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates, and I hope you'll check those out as well. The Steelers are going to be missing Zach Frazier probably for a couple weeks, which would lead through the 2 games against the New Jersey teams and then the bye. So, yeah, like a month or so, but also only 2 games. The other 2 players who were hurt Sunday in Las Vegas, Minkah Fitzpatrick and Dante Jackson, both with shoulder issues, are expected to be just fine. But will the team overall be just fine if all of its solutions are expected to come internally the rest of the way? I'm not going to lie to you. When I walked out of Allegiant Stadium a couple days ago after spending time in that locker room and seeing these guys, especially the offensive linemen, recognizing the challenge that's now even greater that's in front of them, I started to wonder, what stops Omar Khan from just going and getting a guy? And I know this is the part where I have to preface that it's not always fair, because when you're talking about a GM in season in the NFL, you're talking about, for the most part, a set of circumstances that no one can know. See, if you're talking about free agency in the summertime, you can just look at the list and say, hey, they're all here and you have this much cap space. Why don't you go get that guy? When you're talking about trades, it takes 2. And after only 6 weeks of the NFL season, the number of teams that are going to send you the kind of player that you'd want is probably going to be not all that significant. So, I don't know. I just feel like this team at this stage of the season, heading into these 2 games, I don't want to overstate the importance of winning the way I did heading into Las Vegas, but I don't think it's that far behind that. If you look at these Steelers being 4-2, they're 3-1 in the conference, they're tied for first place in the AFC North. They've got a lot of good things lined up already, and they can be that much more ready for that tough second half that everybody's been fearing by going in, 6-2 or even 5-3. Although you don't want to picture them losing to either the Jets or the Giants. So yes, 6-2 and a bye and a chance for a bunch of people to get healthy. Not even referencing the ones I mentioned already, but, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig. You enter that second half like, wow, look at us. Look what we did in that first half. Look how we emerged. Look at our record. Look at our place in the standings. Look at our health status. We are just bring on the Commanders and everybody else who follows. And yet there remain 2 areas where Omar can, and I think should, make every effort to make a difference right now. One of those is the line. You got to understand that at this point, the Steelers are out 3 real live players, real live contributors, or potential contributors to that group, and they've lost them for the season. I'm referring, of course, to Nate Herbig, as well as Troy Fautanu, the first-round pick. James Daniels, arguably the best guy they had at any of the 5 spots. And now Frazier, who was their highest-graded guy at the time he went down, meaning for the season. So I don't want to put him into that same category as the other guys, because they're gone for good, and he's not going to be. But for now, you don't have him. And for now, you have Ryan McCollum. And McCollum is a journeyman guy, undrafted, 2021. Exactly the kind of guy you keep around for exactly situations like what happened Sunday. You need him to be able to come on and take care of the job for the rest of the day. He's not somebody you give that job to over a couple of full regular season NFL games when you can get somebody else. Now, the locker room sentiment, and maybe it was just that sentiment, was that McCollum handled himself pretty well. Good for him. There's a massive difference between that and allowing two opponents, even if it is just the lowly New Jersey teams, to study you for a week or two, to learn all of your shortcomings, to expose them, to attack you, to single you out. Very, very, very different world. So it sure would be nice if by the time Mike Tomlin faces the media at noon today, if there are already some additional names added to the pile, maybe even a trade for someone who's markedly above practice squad level, which leads me, of course, to the other subject that never really seems to go away but falls into the same category, and that's that this team needs a second wide receiver. Doesn't mean it has to be a superstar, doesn't mean it has to be Devontae Adams. Look at your depth chart, look at Van Jefferson, find somebody who's better than that, make sure it's fair value, but go ahead and execute. These two things I'm citing do not feel to me like they're unreasonable asks of an NFL GM, even in season, even after just 6 weeks of football. My guess is that I could look across the league's overall standings, circle the bottom, 6 to 8 teams, and say, you know what, there's gotta be somebody on one of these rosters who can play center for me. There's gotta be someone who can be better than Van Jefferson. And I'll take him. And I'll take him right now. When we come back, J1Q.
This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar.
Today's J1Q comes from Paul Patterson in Churchill. He says, "Hey DK, my son and I listen religiously, and I agree with you that Justin Fields' running is as valuable as being a great passer, maybe more valuable because the offensive line needs to gel between this year and next. I think people are so used to the later years and the Ben Roethlisberger type quarterback that they might never accept this. My question is, should Mike Tomlin give Russell Wilson a chance to showcase his skills in an effort to possibly move him before the trade deadline? My fear would be that our line is still coming together, and that might hurt the perception of Wilson." Paul, if I'm picturing Tomlin, Omar Khan, Andy Weidel, a couple other staffers, and then Art Rooney sitting in the same room, because that's what you'd have if you were engaging in a discussion at this level. The first person who would bring up playing a quarterback or not playing a quarterback because of feeling the need to showcase them, regardless of which one it is, whether it's Fields or Wilson, that individual would be checked into a hospital to see if they're suffering from some kind of fever, because that wouldn't and couldn't be something not just that crosses into a conversation like this, it wouldn't even cross their minds. Understand, I'm not picking on you here. This comes up a lot from people who follow my work, and as a result, I feel okay in answering it as emphatically as I'm about to. No. All these guys think about is winning the next game they play. And as I've often spoken in the past, they do that at times to a fault, without, for example, prioritizing playing a young guy so that they can be stronger at the end of the season. Things like that. Things like only giving Roman Wilson 5 snaps the other day in Las Vegas and no targets. Why was he out there at all? What were you doing? Do you not see how the Steelers can become a better team in December by seeing what Wilson has now, meaning Roman Wilson? But they don't, because all they're thinking about is getting out of Allegiant Stadium with a win. That's it. That's it. So you would never hear something about whether or not to start Russell Wilson to showcase what he's got or what he doesn't still have, even if you don't trust his first decade and change in the league for your film, and you want to see how the calf is and whatever else. There's no chance, none, zero, sub-zero, that the Steelers would think about something like that. Similarly, and I'm going to address this one at the same time, going for a 2-for-1. No, the Steelers will not be weighing whether or not they're going to, I don't even know what these terms are. There's something about how if Fields plays X number of games or snaps or whatever it is, then the Steelers end up getting a lower grade of draft pick from the Bears. I don't even care because it's such a non-thing. It's never even going to come up. And by that, I mean it's never even going to come up in anyone's brains in there, or they wouldn't be in there. It's just not how they think, Paul, and everyone should be thankful that it's not. The difference between, a 4th round pick and a 6th round pick compared to the value of winning within an active NFL regular season in which you're employing the best player in the world, in which you're showing to have a pretty good, if at least a little inconsistent defense. They see themselves, and I think they should, as a pretty good football team. They can't be and aren't worried about perceived trade values or draft picks or anything like that. I appreciate the question. I appreciate both you and your son listening to the show. And a reminder now that the Double Shot Show will be back today at 4 p.m. Eastern. Couldn't do one yesterday, traveling back from Las Vegas. Thanks so much, everybody.